All right, we are going to jump in and get into the nuts and bolts. All right, so we're going to talk about modules. And before we start doing things with modules, I'm going to show you some examples of pre-built courses. So this makes sense. Modules are your lesson plan. Okay, so the template that you just imported, it has some prefab modules in it. All right. So if you scroll down, you're going to see this is set up weekly. All right. Just looking at your template really quickly. This is done by week. All right. So you can see that you've got an overview, perhaps a page, a discussion, an assignment, a quiz, and a wrap up. All right. And then you've got week 2 that follows the same basic format. All right. So again, modules are your lesson plans. They're like little containers of instruction. So just to show you what this would look like in a class, a finished course. Now this is done actually not weekly, but by unit. So flexible, right? You can do modules by week. You can do it by unit. I've seen people do it by file type, believe it or not. So this is my American history class. My module right here this is my Declaration of Independence module. And you can see I've got my content. So I've got a page. And so here's my introduction. All right. And then I've got a discussion. And then I've got another discussion, and then I've got a collaborative wiki page I want them to work on. And then I've got an assignment, and then I've got a wrap up down here, a review. And then I've got some links down here for them to use as resources. Now, as I come down, I kind of follow the same format. And the reason why is because I want consistency. All right. So this way my students know what to expect. They're not hunting, pecking, asking. They're hopefully not lost. So as I come in again, I can see I've got an introduction. All right. And then I've got some assignments. And then I have a wrap up. And then I've got some links and resources. All right. So it kind of follows that all the way down through each unit. I'm going to show you another example of modules. This is my math course. So this follows kind of more of the idea of your template. I have an overview. All right. So I have a couple of pages right here that I might have a little presentation on. I have a Khan Academy link. And then I have my activities, my homework, maybe some extra credit here. And then I have a discussion desk, a help forum for unit 3. So the idea of the help forum is they can come in and they can ask a question and get help either from me, the instructor, or from other students can reply to this help desk. All right. And I really like this in secondary. Inside of Canvas, it promotes a community when I have a little help desk in each unit or week if they need that help. Coming on down, you can see same format, right? I have an overview with a page. I might have some links in here for whatever reason. And then I have my activities, all right? And again, I have a help forum. So just some ideas. So these courses are very, very different. Number one, because the subject's different, obviously, math and history. But a module is a module. It's still a lesson plan. All right. So forget you're in Canvas. Forget that. That doesn't matter. You're going to teach in Canvas the way you would teach face-to-face. You want it to be engaging. So you do want a page with an introduction. This could be a video. This could be a Padlet. It could be any number of things. It could be you on a video, right? For that introduction, for that page. And then you want engagement with discussions. So if you've ever used Flipgrid, Canvas discussions, very much like Flipgrid, all right? And then this is just another page where I have a little presentation on here, and I can put links, files. It's very flexible, all right? So that's what modules are for, okay? And then for whatever reason, somehow my Iliad and Odyssey got in here. Not sure how that happened, got into my history course, that's all right. All right, so we're going to come on in and talk a little bit more about best practices with modules. So like I said, modules are our container, our lesson plan. It's how our students go through our course, all right? We always want to design out of a module. We want students to come to a module. We don't want them going anywhere else. So let's talk about first course navigation. When you're inside of your course on the left-hand side, let me come on back to my course. Here's my course navigation, all right? You can see I've got little eyeballs, right? So my eyeballs means that my students cannot see this. I don't want students to come into my assignments, all right? The reason why is if they come into assignments, where do they go? This is not sequenced. It's just a list of things, right? So students would get in here and they would say, oh, okay, I'm going to try this quiz. It's not for them. This is for you. All right. And we'll be talking a little bit more about assignments as we go through. Same thing with discussions. They should not be coming into discussions because it's not sequenced. This is for you, the instructor. Students should always come into modules. All right. And your template has this set up for you. You should be seeing little eyeballs down the side. All right. When I come into student view, up here top right on my home, this is what my students are seeing. They're seeing home, announcements, syllabus, modules, grades, and then somehow there are 2 Office 365s, all right? So I want, this is pretty good, right? I can still limit this if I want to get rid of some things here. So how I control my navigation over here on the left-hand side is I come to settings, and then I come 1, 2, 3 to navigation. And there's a little message right here. Drag items to hide them from students. That's exactly what you would want to do, all right? So if you are not going to use a syllabus and this is kind of confusing, you can just drag it down, all right? They're not going to see item banks, all right, as a student, so you don't really have to worry about it. If it bothers you, just drag it down. And then Office 365, I don't know why it's in here twice. You would have, I would leave both until you figure out which one is the one you actually need. So I would not move those right now. Whatever you decide, okay, you're going to hit save at the bottom. And now when I come into student view, that syllabus is gone. Oh, there are going to see item banks. I do have to move it. So you would want to move that items bank out of there. They don't need that. Okay, so really quickly, go to settings and adjust it slightly. If you don't need that syllabus or you're definitely not going to need that item bank, drag it down and then hit save at the bottom. All right, any questions you have about it, please let me know. All right. Again, modules are your lesson plan. So these are just some screenshots that I've taken of various modules done, obviously by week, by unit, math facts. All right. And then you could even do vocabulary. So if you have ACT, SAT, vocabulary words, or vocabulary for that unit, whatever it may be, very flexible. So again, a module is your container. So this is how my brain is when I begin teaching a unit, all right? It's just I have all these materials. How do I organize them inside of Canvas? Because I want my students to get here. This is mastery, right? And right now, these are my materials. So this is what I need to happen inside of Canvas. I need it very granular. I need it very structured. So my students can easily get to that mastery. So inside of modules, what you have, yes, you are able to share rubrics. You have to attach rubrics to an assignment. You cannot share a rubric by itself. Also, as an admin, you can stick rubrics inside of the root or the sub account, and instructors can just pull them over into courses. I would not, I'm on the fence about Commons. Commons is fine. You know, just whenever, just remember when you're moving things digitally, the less you can move them, the better. So putting the rubric at the root or sub is really efficient for instructors to bring them into their course. Also, just sharing an assignment. That's what I would recommend, because if you share to the Commons, you're going to have to share the assignment to the Commons, and then you're going to have to pull the assignment back out of the Commons. There's a lot of digital manipulation that goes on there. So food for thought, a couple of different ways you can do it. All right, so you've got pages, discussions, assignments, and quizzes, all right, that are native to Canvas, all right? In addition to this, you have links, files that you can also put, and of course you've got some embedding you can do as well. Now, a page is just what it sounds like. It's a web page, okay? Students can't hand in a page. It is basically static unless you're putting a video or a Padlet of some sort on that page. Discussions, very interactive, very engaging. You can use discussions in a variety of ways. Of course, assignments is where we would collect those artifacts. And then quizzes can be formative or summative, right? Now, we're going to come on in to your template. And they are done by weeks, all right? So these right now, this is like a Xerox machine. All these are your originals, all right? So you've got all the way down, and they're not all exactly the same. However, if you wanted to duplicate, let's say you want to reuse one over and over and over, you can duplicate an entire module, all right? So if I come up here to week 1, all right, let's say, oh, okay, I don't want to edit week 1. I just want to use all this as my original and then make a copy of this and edit that copy. I can do that. Now, you cannot duplicate a module if you have a quiz in it, a classic quiz. And if it's a new quiz, yes, this is a classic quiz. So, and the reason I know that is because this rocket ship right here is clear, it's hollow, it's not filled in, okay? So I cannot duplicate a module if I have a quiz, a classic quiz in it. So I would have to remove that quiz, all right? So I would have to hit my 3 dots and remove. Okay, and say, are you sure? Yes, you're sure. You can add the quiz back in later. So now I have a module, all right, with my overview, my presentation, a discussion, an assignment template, and then a wrap up. If I wanted to duplicate this and reuse it, I would just hit my 3 dots at the top and hit duplicate. So this way, it's like taking it to the Xerox machine, right? I don't want to mark up my original, but I might want to mark up my copies. So now I have a copy and I can edit these, all right? So on and so forth. And you can make as many copies of a module as you want, all right? I can do it again. I can come up, 3 dots, duplicate. And then I'll have that copy too. So notice I've got copy, copy two. All right, and I can drag and drop them in whatever order. Now, then I'm ready to go. All right. I can say, all right, here is my week 1. I could come in here and I can say 3 dots, edit. Here is my week 2. All right. So however you want to do this. So now I've got week 1, week 2, and all I have to do is just duplicate, all right, this top module over and over and over and over and over. And I will have a fresh, clean slate that I can work with, all right? So this is the nice thing about duplicating this module up here at the top, all right? And I would actually come up to the 3 dots and hit edit and just say, template for copy. And that way I just know this is my template that I'm going to duplicate. And here's my week 1, week 2, etc. All right. So that's a really easy way to start spitting out content for you to come in. All this is blank. All right. Now all I have to do is come in and do whatever I need to, put my information in here, all right? So this is a really fast way to get your modules out, all right? So here's week 1, I can reuse this, edit this however I want, put my own content in these, etc. If I go through week 1 and week 2, just come back up and duplicate it again, all right? So this is an easy, fast way to do it. Now, your template gives you some weeks already here, all right? If you wanted to use those instead of duplicating that module, up to you, all right? But just to show you, you don't have to recreate the wheel. What's going to happen with your template, though, is eventually you're going to run out of weeks, all right? Unless you are given a new course and then you import the template in again, all right? So you can see this week 10 is not completely filled out. This is just to show you, you can just duplicate a module and have it over and over and over again, all right? So just to give you a little bit of time to do that, remember you do have to remove that quiz, hit the 3 dots and hit remove, and then go up to the 3 dots and hit duplicate. Don't worry about adding the quiz back in, all right? So one more time, all I'm doing is I'm coming to my module, I'm coming to my quiz, 3 dots, remove. And then I'm going to hit the 3 dots at the top of that module and just come down and say duplicate. All right. All right, hands on time. Don't worry about adding the quiz back in, and let me know when you're ready to move on. No, there's no limit of weeks. There's some best practices. I would not, there is no limit. I'm just going to stop there. No, there's no, you know, worry about running out of space. But when we think about students, this is overwhelming, right? I mean, it's like an endless scroll. So, and it doesn't look like this to them, all right, because these are unpublished. So just making sure as we go through our course that it doesn't turn into an endless scroll for students. And it doesn't have to look like this. Just being careful. And as we go through today, I'm going to show you some best practices to negate that. In that. Now, I'm going to duck back in and talk about if you want to build from scratch. And I always show this because even though you may be encouraged to use these pre-built templates for your modules, this helps you understand why when you build from scratch, all right? So to make a module of your very own and not duplicate or use the modules that are already existing, over here on modules, you would just hit plus module, all right, at the very, very top. So I'm going to hit plus module, and I'm just going to call it, oh, I don't know, Unit 1 Revolutionary Word Process. Since it popped up, that's what I'm going to call it. You name it however you want. Now, I would name it in a meaningful way. Usually week 1, unit 1, chapter 1, something that will help students kind of know sequentially where are we, right? So I'm going to go ahead and add this module, and yes, it's going to shoot to the bottom. All right, there is no setting to prevent that. So it is at the bottom. Now, what I am going to do, either I can drag it, all right, to the top using my grips on the left-hand side. I can also hit my 3 dots over here and say move module. All right, so 3 dots, move module, and then I can move it to the top. All right, or I can say before and say exactly where I want it. So I'm just going to move it before my template. All right, I'm just going to hit move, and there it is. All right, so I've moved that up. Now, when I am building a module, the first thing I always do, because I forget, is I publish it. All right, none of these modules except the very tip top, this welcome is published, you see the green dots. Notice how the top of the module has a green dot and each item inside the module has a green dot. So that means the module is published so students can see it, and these items are also published. Now I can become very granular and unpublish items, but I still have to keep that top publish on, or the entire module will not be seen. So it's like an ace of spades. This top dot trumps all the others. So if I were to unpublish that, even though these are on, this module cannot be seen. So I have to publish the top of the module, all right, for anything to be seen. Without that ace, nothing else matters, okay? And then again, I can unpublish very granularly, but this does have to be published for students to see it. It's the number 2 call Canvas gets. Why can't my students see my content? Probably because you forgot to publish the module. Okay. Now, coming on down, I'm going to go ahead and publish this because I will forget. I forget all the time. It's the easy thing to forget. I'm going to go ahead and publish it. Now, when we are making lessons in a module, it's your lesson plan. All right. Again, forget you're in Canvas. How would you start a new unit or a new week, a new subject, new topic. They already know the syllabus. Don't worry about that. They know your expectations. Don't worry about that. The actual teaching content. What would you do if you were in class? How do you start this? So put it in chat. How would you start a new unit? Right. Okay. So typically we would have an introduction, right? A hook of some sort. So if you're teaching math, I understand you probably have a pre-assess. But typically when we start a unit, we have some sort of introduction, engagement, something to get the students engaged in our teaching. So to do that in Canvas, what I would do is I can put a page in. All right. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to hit the plus right next to the green button. So I'm going to hit this plus, and then it defaults to add assignment. That's not what I want. I'm going to just click that little drop down over here, and I'm going to say page. All right. So add a page, and then I'm going to create a page. And that's the first option. So one more time, plus, come down, fourth one, add a page, create a page, and then I'm going to give it a name. So I'm just going to call it Intro to Revolutionary War. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and add that item, and there it is. Nothing's on it, okay, but I've got my intro. All right. There's my intro to the subject. I'm going to keep building. So after I have a little introduction on that page, I could have a movie, I could have a Padlet, I could have some sort of engagement, right? I'm going to continue to build. Now I am going to come in and hit, and so I might say add after that intro, I might have a discussion, right? So I'm going to say add discussion. So I might create that topic of discussion. And I might say colonist rights. What was the most important? And I'm going to add it. So already I am building my lesson plan. I've got a nice intro. Now I've got my discussion. And I'm going to keep on building. All right. Now I might want to put in some vocabulary. So I might want to come in and say, okay, I want to put a Quizlet in. So I'm going to come in. Quizlet would be an external URL because it's a link, right? So it's next to the bottom, external URL. Everything originates from this plus sign, right? So plus. Coming on down, external URL. So I need the URL. Right? So I'm going to have to come out, make a new tab, and go to Quizlet. So let's say here's my American Revolution Quizlet. There we go. All I would do is just copy that URL at the top. Come on back and just paste it in there. And I'm going to say for my page name, underneath URL, I'm going to say vocabulary words, Unit 1. There they are. And I'm going to publish it. All right. So I'm going to keep on building this lesson plan. All right. Now I might want for them to have something from my Office 365 OneDrive. So I'm going to hit the plus and I'm going to say, okay, I want them to put something in from my OneDrive. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to say external tool. There we go. Now, once I have logged in, I can then drop this in. All right. So whatever document, PowerPoint, whatever you want in here, you can drop in. All right. So I'm just going to come in. This is not about the revolution. I'm just going to use it. All right. So there's a PowerPoint right there, and I can say attach file. All right. And then I would just add that item. All right. Now I can come in, if my file name isn't something that I like, I can come over here to the 3 dots and I can hit edit and I can say something like, and there it is. All right. So again, to get that in there, since that was not clear, come to Office 365. You will have to be logged in, as you saw. It will shoot you to your OneDrive, and then you can click on whatever file that you do want, say attach file, and then add that item. Okay, so that's how to get it in from your OneDrive. And you do have to publish it like you publish everything else. All right, and so on and so forth. I would continue to build my lesson plan out. I could then add in an assignment. All right, create an assignment. I could just say essay on colonist rights, add that. And so now I've got my nice shell. Now I haven't come in and edited anything. I'm just dropping content in so I can come back and edit it later. All right, so I am building out the activities inside the module. This is the flow I want students to go through. Now, if I wanted to rearrange this, for example, this essay on colonist rights, I can move it up. All right, if I wanted to move my vocabulary words up, I could. All right, so I can rearrange however I want. All right, once I get them in there. Now, we are going to continue to talk about modules. So we've gotten some content in. So now we're going to talk about some best practices for organization of our modules. So you can see right here, I've got my little red boxes around what is called a text header. All right. And what a text header is basically it is a label. Now, this is very important for students, especially if they are using Canvas mobilely. Even if you don't use Canvas mobilely, I guarantee you your students are, okay? So this really helps organize your modules and the flow thereof. So you can see this is done by unit, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, notice the numbering system. This is done weekly, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all right? And this is more like your templates, learn, engage, and then demonstrate understanding. When I come back in, of course, again, very flexible, however you want to do this, all right? So looking at your template, insert section header here, that's what that is, okay? This would be a text header. So I'm going to come up to the one I've got going for Unit 1, and I'm going to create text headers the same way I create everything else in a module. I'm going to come up to the plus sign, and I'm going to hit that plus sign, and I'm going to say add text header. All right. So I'm going to say, since this is Unit 1, I'm going to say 1.1 introduction. And add that item. And I'm going to drag that up. And then I'm going to keep on trucking. I'm going to add I have to publish it like I have to publish everything else in a module. I'm going to hit that plus, and I'm going to say, oh, I don't know, 1.2 assignments and classwork. And drag this up. can make another one. 1.3. Wrap up and quiz. And then 1.4. Additional resources. All right. So I don't have my wrap up and quiz here yet, and I don't have additional resources, but it's a possibility, right? So I have organized this as we come through, and notice my numbering system as I come through that module. It really helps my students out as they progress through this module. All right. So this is how I want the flow to go. This is organized for them. And I might do this for every single module. This might be my format. All right. And so every module, I might have an introduction, assignments and classwork, wrap up and quiz, additional resources. Not a bad structure. All right. Now, I can do other things in addition to organize my module. All right. I typically leave pages to the far left. All right, because this is where the bulk of my information is. I might want to move these two links over a little bit so it's not flush to the left. So I can do some indenting. So my 3 dots right here, I can increase the indent by clicking this arrow. All right, or I can hit the 3 dots and say edit, and I can choose my indentation level. So typically that's what I do because it's faster. I just hit 3 dots, edit, and then I take it to level 2. And it just brings the student's eye over. So everything's not so flat. And I do the same thing as I go through. So edit, just bringing that on out. And then I might leave that assignment back to the left. All right. So it's just a little bit different. So everybody's different how they want to organize their module. All right. I could bring this assignment out as well too. Okay. So my text header is very, very important for that chunking and organization, this indentation. Now, if I wanted to add some color to this, I can. I can only add it to text headers. So I can come in 3 dots on that text header, edit. If I wanted to add, oh, I don't know, like a little red dot right there, I could. All right, just to bring that attention. This is the introduction. Maybe use a different color right here for my assignment and classwork. Etc. All right. So however you wanted to do this, but I would do it consistently. You cannot put these symbols inside of an assignment or graded discussion. It will not pass back to your student information system. Okay, so these can only go inside of text headers. All right, so I'm going to give you a little bit of time to organize. All right, and how I got that color in, if you are on a Windows device, it is a right click or your Windows key on your keyboard and your period. So that's how I got that in if you are interested in that. Okay, the last thing I'm going to mention with modules is that you can control flow. All right, so here I am. All right, here's my lesson plan, right? So this is built out. And as I go through and start building my course, I'm going to have very specific things and ways I want students to come through my module. All right. Notice that my students are not ever coming over here to my course navigation. Why? Because everything's in a module. Okay. If you take one thing away from today, that's the important message. All right. We always build from a module. Now, I'm going to come in just because I have content built out in this other course to show you how I can control flow. All right. Now, here it is. I've got it built out, and I'm actually going to have to take this off so I can redo it. All right. So I want them to come through my Declaration of Independence first, then my articles, etc. I do not want students going click crazy and just kind of click, 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 and just kind of Mickey Mousing their way through my content, right? That's when nightmares start. So I can be as rigid or relaxed with this as I want to. Now, I come from the elementary area, and high stakes testing. When I started teaching third grade in Georgia years ago, the public school, we had merit pay. And that meant that we were paid based on how well our students did on standardized tests. It was a nightmare. And Canvas saved me. Now, this is way before teaching online was a thing. So I found out that modules could really help me with benchmarking and forcing mastery. All right. And this is how it works. At the top of the module, whoops, I've got my 3 dots, all right next to my plus sign. On my edit, a couple of options. Number one, I can lock the entire module so students can't get to it. All right. So I can build it out, lock it. I can say, okay, this is going to open on the 20th. You can't get to it. All right. Now you have to do this if your students get in it, or it's going to kick them out and they're going to get mad. All right. So I'm going to relock, and you can see we'll unlock September 20th. When I come to student view, when they come down, they cannot get to this module. All right. They can click and click. They can see it, but they just can't access it. All right. So this is option 1 from controlling flow. So in theory, you can build your entire course out and just lock all the modules until it's time to allow access. All right. I'm going to take that lock off. Usually K-12 doesn't do that. That's kind of a higher ed thing. The other thing I can do is add requirements. So I'm going to hit add requirements. Now, I can have choices. Students must complete all of these requirements, and they have to go through in sequential order. If you uncheck that box that says sequential order, that means they can choose any order, right? They can click around and skip around. If I click that box, this means that they have to go first, second, third, obviously, right? If you wanted to allow student choice, students must complete one of these requirements, all right? Now, typically I did this unless it was in a center, all right? I doubt in secondary you do a whole lot of centering. I did a lot of it for benchmarking and for my literature circles, up to you with the complete one of these requirements for student choice. It has its purpose. But for today, I'm just going to show you all the power of a module. All right. Now, I am going to start adding what I want them to do. What's the first thing I want them to do? Well, the first thing I want them to do is I want them to look at this introduction. Now, because it's a page, they can only view the item or mark it as done. It says contribute to the page. I have not enabled this as a wiki page, okay? So view or mark it as done. I always choose mark the page as done because that's my artifact on a page. They can't hand the page in, but they can mark it as done, all right? Then I'm going to come down and add a requirement, all right? The next thing I want them to do is a discussion. So I'm going to come down, I'm going to say, all right, Declaration of Independence discussion. I want them to submit the assignment. This is a graded discussion. They're going to add another requirement. The next thing I want them to do is the position paper, and that's an assignment. And I want them to submit that assignment. All right. Now you can force scores in here. Like I could say score at least. This position paper has 20 points total. I could say, all right, well, you have to score at least a 15 on that paper. If I force a score on an assignment like an essay, students are locked in the module until you return the assignment to them. I typically don't do this on assignments. I do it on quizzes that are auto grading, but I don't do it on assignment because that puts more pressure on me, all right, that I have to grade it quickly. So if it's an assignment, I just want them to submit it, all right? But you could force that score if you wanted to. Now I'm going to say update module. Remember, they can't be in there yet. And then I'm going to get complete all items. Now, when I come into student view, what this looks like, and let me reset my student. Notice how I can't get to this, but I have to start here at the top, all right? So it's forcing me to start with this page. I'm coming into the page, and notice what's at the very bottom of the page. Mark is done, all right? So then I can go next, and I can get into this discussion, all right? If I were to come back out to modules, what does this look like? I can see this opened up, but this did not. All right. Now, in my discussion, if I were to try and go to next, it's not going to let me. When I hit next, it's not going to let me do this. All right. Notice there is no reply here. All right, so I have to do the one prior, okay? I cannot reply to this before I finish the assignment report. All right, so it does control that flow through the module so you can have students go through the order you want them to go through, submitting, etc. All right,